They say therapy is supposed to be a safe space, a place where you bare your soul without judgment, where you process your deepest fears with someone trained to help you heal. For 2 years, I told my therapist everything. Every insecurity about my marriage, every fear about not being enough, every doubt about whether my husband still loved me. I told her about the intimacy issues, about how Julian said I was too independent and too strong, about how he complained I didn't make him feel needed, about my panic attacks, my weight loss, my fear that I was failing as a wife. She listened. She took notes. She nodded sympathetically. She said, "You're not the problem, Simone. You're enough." And then she went home and used every single word I'd said, every vulnerability, every insecurity, every fear, to seduce my husband and become exactly what I'd told her I wasn't. This is the story of the ultimate betrayal, when the woman paid to heal you is the one destroying you, and how I used her own playbook, my medical training, and every resource I had to destroy her right back. My name is Dr. Simone Laurent, and I need to start by telling you that I'm not a woman who breaks easily. I'm a cardiologist, a board-certified interventional cardiologist to be specific. I perform procedures on people's hearts. I make life-or-death decisions in seconds. I've held beating hearts in my hands. I've told families their loved ones didn't make it. I've saved lives when everyone else had given up hope. I spent 4 years at Spelman College majoring in biology, 4 years at Emory Medical School where I was one of only 12 black students in my class, 3 years of brutal residency working 80-hour weeks, 2 years of fellowship specializing in interventional cardiology, learning to thread catheters through arteries, place stents, perform emergency procedures that most doctors will never touch. By the time I was 33, I was an attending physician at Emory University Hospital, making $400,000 a year, respected in my field, published in medical journals, speaking at conferences. I was one of fewer than 300 black women interventional cardiologists in the entire United States. I'd broken barriers, shattered glass ceilings, made my parents proud. I'm not soft. I'm not weak. I'm not someone you can manipulate or break down easily. Or so I thought. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that your greatest strength can become your greatest vulnerability when the wrong person knows exactly how to exploit it. Let me take you back to the beginning. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the Treme neighborhood, one of the oldest black neighborhoods in America, full of history, culture, and pride. My family is Creole, that unique Louisiana mix of African, French, and Spanish heritage. We spoke English at school, French at home when my grandmother was around, and a mix of both everywhere else. My father, Dr. Jean-Claude Laurent, was a professor of African American Studies at Xavier University. My mother, Marie Laurent, was a nurse at Charity Hospital, before Katrina destroyed it. My grandmother, Mère Celeste, lived with us, made the best gumbo you've ever tasted, could switch from English to French mid-sentence, and believed in 2 things, God and education. Simone, she'd say to me in French while stirring her roux, dans ce monde, une femme noire doit être 2 fois meilleure pour obtenir la moitié. In this world, a black woman must be twice as good to get half as much. Alors tu seras 4 fois meilleure. So you'll be 4 times as good. I took that to heart. I was valedictorian at my high school, scored a perfect 4.0 at Spelman, aced the MCAT, got into Emory Medical School with a full scholarship. My parents cried at my white coat ceremony. Ma mère, then 85 years old, made the trip from New Orleans to Atlanta to see me receive that coat. She died 2 months later, but not before telling me, "Tu es mon fierté. You are my pride." Medical school was brutal. The long hours, the studying, the constant pressure. But the worst part? Being one of the only black women in a sea of white faces, dealing with attendings who questioned my intelligence, patients who asked for a real doctor, classmates who assumed I was only there because of affirmative action. I proved them all wrong. Graduated top 10% of my class. Matched into one of the most competitive residency programs in the country. Chose interventional cardiology, one of the most male-dominated, technically difficult specialties in medicine, and excelled at it. By 33, I'd made it. I was living my dream. And that's when I met Julian Laurent, no relation, though our shared last name became a joke between us, was a corporate attorney. We met at a Jack and Jill fundraiser in Atlanta. Jack and Jill is this organization for accomplished Black families, and someone had dragged me there saying I needed to socialize more and meet people outside the hospital. Julian was there with his law firm, Schmoozing Donors. He was 35, tall, 6'3", dark-skinned with that smooth, flawless complexion that Black Don't Crack gave him. Athletic build from playing basketball at Howard University and keeping up with it. He wore an expensive suit like it was made for him, had a smile that could light up a room, and carried himself with the confidence of a man who'd never lost a case. "Dr. Laurent," he said, approaching me with a glass of wine. "I heard them announce you earlier. Interventional cardiologist? That's impressive." "Thank you," I said, keeping it professional. "I'm Julian, corporate attorney. Much less impressive than saving lives, but I try." I laughed despite myself. "What kind of law?" "Mergers and acquisitions, mostly. I help companies buy other companies, navigate the legal complexities, make sure everyone gets paid." We talked for an hour. About our careers, our families, our dreams. He was from D.C., had gone to Howard for undergrad and Georgetown for law school. His father was a federal judge, his mother a pediatrician. Like me, he came from a family that valued education and excellence. "You're different," he said, as the event was winding down. "Most women I meet are either intimidated by my career or trying too hard to impress me. You're just yourself, confident, accomplished, not trying to be anything but who you are." "Is that a compliment?" I asked, smiling. "It's the highest compliment I can give," he said. "Can I take you to dinner? Somewhere nice, where we can actually talk without all this fundraiser noise?" I said yes. That dinner turned into a second date, then a third, then 6 months of getting to know each other, really know each other. He came to the hospital to bring me dinner when I was on call. I went to his firm's events and watched him work a room like the brilliant lawyer he was. We spent Sundays at brunch, talked about everything from politics to family, to our dreams of what we wanted to build together. "I want a partner," he told me one night over dinner. "Not just a wife. Someone who challenges me, who has her own life and career, who doesn't need me but chooses me anyway." "That's what I want too," I said. "Someone who respects my career, who understands that I save lives and can't always be available, who values my independence." "That's you," he said. "You're exactly what I want." We got engaged after 2 years of dating. He proposed at Piedmont Park on a beautiful spring day, with both our families watching from a distance. My mother cried. His mother cried. My father shook his hand and said, "You're getting my pride and joy. Take care of her." "I promise," Julian said. "I'll always take care of her." The wedding was everything a Southern Black wedding should be. Elegant, cultural, meaningful. We got married at the historic Biltmore Ballroom in Atlanta. 250 guests, including family who came from New Orleans, D.C., and all over the country. My dress cost $15,000 and made me feel like a queen. We had a jazz band, real New Orleans jazz musicians I'd flown in. We had a second-line parade through the venue. Parasols, handkerchiefs, everyone dancing. We jumped the broom, had a libation ceremony honoring our ancestors, served gumbo at the reception because that's what my mémère would have wanted. "You're going to be so happy," my mother said while helping me get ready. "He's a good man. He loves you. You're building something beautiful." I believed her. God, I believed her. We bought a house in Cascade Heights, the neighborhood where Atlanta's Black elite lived. Doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, professors. Our house was 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, with a chef's kitchen I barely had time to use, a home office where I reviewed patient charts, and a backyard where we planned to have barbecues and maybe, someday, watch our children play. The first 3 years of marriage were good, really good. We were both building our careers. I was establishing my reputation at Emory. He was working toward partnership at his firm. We were busy, but we made time for each other. Friday date nights, Saturday morning breakfast in bed, Sunday afternoons watching football or going to museum exhibits or just being together. We talked about starting a family, maybe in 2 years, I'd say. once I'm more established, once I have my practice exactly where I want it. Whenever you're ready, Julian would say. I'm in no rush. I just want you. But somewhere around year 4, things started to shift. And at first, the changes were so subtle I barely noticed them. Julian started working later. Big case, he'd say. Client needs me. He'd come home at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., sometimes after midnight. When I asked about it, he'd get defensive. This is what it takes to make partners, Simone. I thought you'd understand. You work long hours, too. He started traveling more. Chicago for depositions, New York for client meetings, Miami for conferences. Always a reason, always work-related, always leaving me alone in our big house in Cascade Heights. Our Sunday mornings together disappeared. He started playing basketball with his Howard buddies every Sunday, all day, from morning until evening. I need guy time, he'd say when I complained. I can't be with you every single moment. Our conversations became surface level. How was work? Fine. Saved 3 lives, but who's counting? I'd joke, trying to get him to engage. That's great, babe, he'd say, barely looking up from his phone. Our sex life started to die. We went from 3 times a week to once a week to twice a month to once a month if I was lucky. And when we did have sex, it felt mechanical, like he was going through the motions, like his mind was somewhere else. I tried everything. Bought lingerie from expensive boutiques, planned romantic dinners with candles and his favorite wine, suggested weekend getaways to Charleston, Savannah, places where we could reconnect. I'm too busy, he'd say. Maybe next month. Next month never came. I started to notice other things. He started going to the gym obsessively. 5 a.m. every morning, sometimes 9 p.m. at night. Lost weight, got more muscular, started dressing better. New cologne I didn't recognize. Getting his hair cut every single week at the barber shop, keeping his lineup fresh, his beard perfectly shaped. Taking more care with his appearance than he ever had before. You look good, I said one morning, watching him get dressed in an expensive new suit. Thanks. Got to look sharp for clients. Is there a particular client you're trying to impress? I asked, half joking. What's that supposed to mean? He snapped. Nothing. You're putting in a lot of effort lately. Maybe if you put in effort too, we wouldn't have the problems we have. That hurt. That really hurt. Because I was putting in effort. I was trying everything I knew to save our marriage. But nothing was working. That's when the anxiety started. The insecurity. The constant voice in my head asking, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't he want me anymore? Am I not attractive enough? Not feminine enough? Too focused on my career? Too independent? Too strong? I started second-guessing everything. Every conversation, every interaction, every choice I made. When he came home late, I wondered if I should have texted more during the day. When he turned down sex, I wondered if I'd initiated wrong. When he went to the gym instead of spending time with me, I wondered if I was boring. I started having panic attacks. The first one happened at work, in the middle of a procedure. I was placing a stent in a patient's coronary artery, a routine procedure I'd done hundreds of times, when suddenly I couldn't breathe. My vision tunneled. My hands started shaking. I had to step back, let my fellow physician take over. Dr. Laurent, are you okay? The nurse asked. I'm fine, I lied. Just need a minute. I went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, tried to calm down. But the panic attacks kept coming. At work. At home. While driving. In the middle of the night. I'd wake up gasping for air, my heart racing, ironic for a cardiologist, convinced something was terribly wrong. I lost weight, not intentionally. I just had no appetite. Food tasted like cardboard. I dropped from 145 pounds to 125 in 3 months. People at work noticed. Dr. Laurent, are you feeling okay? You look thin. Are you eating? I couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake next to Julian, who was sleeping peacefully like he didn't have a care in the world, and I'd stare at the ceiling wondering what I'd done wrong, wondering how to fix this, wondering if he was going to leave me. My best friend Monica, a psychiatrist at Emory, cornered me at work one day. "Simone, we need to talk." "I'm fine, Monica." "You're not fine. You've lost 20 pounds in 3 months. You're having panic attacks." "Yes, I heard about the incident during the procedure. You're showing classic signs of anxiety and depression. This isn't just stress. This is clinical." "I can handle it," I insisted. "You're a cardiologist, not a psychiatrist. You don't get to self-diagnose and self-treat. You need professional help. You need therapy." "I don't need therapy," I said, defensive. "I'm Dr. Simone Laurent. I'm strong. I'm successful. I don't need—" "That's exactly the kind of thinking that keeps Black women from getting mental health help," Monica interrupted. "We think we have to be strong all the time. We think asking for help is weakness. Simone, you're struggling. There's no shame in that. But you need to talk to someone before this affects your ability to practice medicine. Before you have a panic attack during a critical procedure and someone dies because you couldn't keep it together." That got through to me. The idea that my mental health could put a patient at risk, that was unacceptable. That was the line I couldn't cross. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll find someone." "I have the perfect referral," Monica said immediately, like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Dr. Nicole Winters. She's a licensed professional counselor, specializes in working with high-achieving professional women, particularly women of color. She understands the unique pressures we face. She's excellent. I'll send you her information." I called Dr. Nicole Winters that afternoon. Her receptionist was warm, efficient. "Doctor, Winters has an opening next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Does that work for you?" "Yes," I said. "I'll take it." That Tuesday, I left the hospital early, drove to Nicole's office in Buckhead, a nice part of Atlanta, professional buildings, tree-lined streets. Her office was on the 3rd floor of a medical building. The waiting room was calming, soft colors, comfortable chairs, plants, peaceful music playing. At exactly 5 p.m., a door opened and she appeared. "Dr. Laurent?" I stood up, and for the first time, I saw her. Dr. Nicole Winters. She was younger than I expected. Early 30s, maybe 32 or 33. Black woman, light-skinned with that ambiguous complexion that could read as black or mixed or Latina, depending on context. Natural hair styled in a beautiful twist-out that fell to her shoulders. Wearing professional clothes, slacks, a blouse, a blazer, that were stylish but appropriate. She had a warm smile, kind eyes, and an energy that immediately put me at ease. "Please call me Simone," I said, shaking her hand. "And you can call me Nicole," she said. "I prefer to keep things a bit less formal in therapy. It helps build trust and connection. Come on in." Her office was beautiful. A comfortable couch where I could sit. She sat in a chair across from me with a notebook and pen. Soft lighting, more plants, a bookshelf full of psychology textbooks and self-help books, a window overlooking the trees outside. "So, Simone," she said, settling into her chair with her notebook open. "Thank you for coming. I know it takes courage to reach out for help, especially for women in high-pressure careers. Tell me what brings you here today." And I told her. Everything. I told her about the panic attacks, about waking up in the middle of the night unable to breathe, about the one during the procedure that scared me so badly I thought I might have to take a leave of absence. I told her about Julian, about how our marriage had been good for 3 years, and then just deteriorated, about the distance, the late nights, the travel, the gym obsession, the dying sex life. I told her about my insecurities, about feeling like I wasn't enough, about wondering if I was too successful, too independent, too focused on my career, about feeling like maybe I was a good doctor but a bad wife. "I don't know how to be softer," I said, and I could feel tears starting. "I don't know how to be less me. I'm a cardiologist. I'm in charge of operating rooms. I make critical decisions. I can't just turn that off when I come home. And I think Julian resents it. I think he wanted someone more traditional, more submissive, more focused on him." Nicole listened to everything, really listened, took notes, asked thoughtful questions, never interrupted, never judged. When I finished, after I'd talked for 45 straight minutes, after I'd cried through an entire box of tissues. She looked at me with such compassion I almost started crying again. "Simone," she said gently, "I want you to hear this very clearly. You are not the problem. You are not too successful. You are not too independent. You are not too strong. Those are not flaws. Those are your strengths. Those are what make you an excellent physician and an incredible woman. Then why doesn't my husband want me anymore?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I don't know yet," she said honestly. "But here's what I do know. Marriage issues are never just one person's fault. Whatever is happening with Julian, you don't deserve to be treated this way. You don't deserve to feel like you're not enough. You are enough. You're more than enough." I cried, just sat there and cried, while Nicole handed me more tissues and said all the things I needed to hear. "We're going to work through this together," she said. "I want you to know you're not alone. You're going to heal from this. Whether your marriage survives or not, you're going to be okay." "Thank you," I whispered. "I needed to hear that. That's what I'm here for," she said warmly. "I'll see you next week. Same time?" "Yes," I said. "Same time." I started seeing Nicole every Tuesday at 5 p.m. For 2 years. That's 104 sessions of me pouring out my heart, my fears, my marriage, my life. And she was good. Really good. She helped me develop coping strategies for the anxiety, breathing exercises, grounding techniques, ways to manage panic attacks when they happened. The panic attacks decreased from daily to weekly to occasional. She helped me process my feelings about Julian, helped me understand that his behavior was about him, not about me, helped me set boundaries, saying no to sex when I didn't want it, refusing to apologize for my career, standing up for myself when he criticized me. She helped me rebuild my self-esteem, reminded me weekly that I was accomplished, successful, worthy of love and respect. But she also did something else, something I didn't realize until it was too late. She gathered information, specific, detailed information about Julian. In session 15, I told her about Julian's need for validation. "He needs constant affirmation," I said. "Needs to hear how smart he is, how successful he is, how attractive he is. I used to do that all the time, but lately I've been so tired and stressed I forget, and he gets upset." She wrote that down. I watched her write it, thinking she was taking therapeutic notes. In session 23, I told her about our sex life. "We used to have sex all the time. It was good, really good. But now he says I'm too tired, not spontaneous enough. He wants me to initiate more, be more adventurous. But I'm exhausted from work. I don't have the energy to plan elaborate seduction scenarios." She wrote that down too. In session 37, I told her about Julian's complaints about my independence. He says I don't need him, that I'm too self-sufficient, that I make him feel unnecessary in my life. But I don't understand. He said he wanted a partner, not someone dependent on him. Now he's saying I'm too independent? It doesn't make sense. More notes. In session 49, I brought up our latest fight. He said I don't support his career, that I don't go to enough firm events, don't make enough effort with his colleagues' wives, don't make him look good professionally, but I'm working too. I'm saving lives. Why is my career less important than his? Nicole sympathized. That sounds frustrating. It's unfair for him to expect you to prioritize his career over yours. Right, I said, feeling validated. That's what I think too. In session 62, I told her about Julian's appearance obsession. He spends so much time at the gym now, gets his hair cut every week, buys expensive clothes. I asked if there was someone he was trying to impress, and he got so defensive, accused me of not putting in effort with my appearance. How did that make you feel? She asked. Like I'm not good enough. Like I need to be prettier, more put together, more feminine. But I'm a doctor. I wear scrubs most of the day. I don't have time for elaborate makeup and hair routines. You shouldn't have to change who you are to make someone else happy, Nicole said. But even as she said it, even as she validated my feelings, she was taking notes. Notes about exactly what Julian wanted, what he needed. what he was looking for, and I didn't see it. Didn't realize what she was doing, because in session 71, I told her something specific, something that, looking back, was the key to everything. Julian told me last night that the problem with our marriage is that I'm too much like a man, I said, crying. He said I'm too strong, too career-focused, too independent. He said he needs someone softer, someone who makes him feel needed, who looks up to him, who makes him the center of her world. And I said, but that's not who I am. That's not who you married. And he said, maybe I married the wrong person. And Nicole looked horrified. That's a terrible thing to say. Is he right? I asked. Am I too masculine? Too much like a man? Absolutely not, Nicole said firmly. You're a woman who happens to be successful and independent. That doesn't make you masculine. That makes you accomplished. Julian's insecurity about your success is his problem, not yours. But what if I'm losing him because I can't be what he needs? Then he's not the right person for you, Nicole said. You deserve someone who loves you for exactly who you are. Someone who celebrates your success instead of resenting it. Someone who doesn't make you feel like you need to be smaller to make them feel bigger. I left that session feeling heard, validated, supported. I didn't know that Nicole had just been given the complete blueprint for how to seduce my husband. Be everything I wasn't. Be softer, more submissive, more focused on him. Make him feel needed, important, successful. Look up to him instead of being his equal. I didn't know that 2 weeks after that session, Nicole would accidentally run into Julian at a Starbucks near his office. I didn't know she'd introduce herself as a therapist who worked with high-achieving couples and suggest they get coffee to discuss some strategies that might help me support Simone better. I didn't know she'd tell him, "Your wife talks about you all the time. You sound like an incredibly accomplished man. She's lucky to have you." I didn't know that my therapist, the woman I trusted with my deepest secrets, was using every single vulnerability I'd shared to destroy my marriage. The affair started in session 78. I didn't know that at the time, obviously. But looking back, I can see the timeline. February 14th, Valentine's Day. I'd planned a romantic evening, made reservations at Julian's favorite restaurant, bought new lingerie, was actually excited about trying to reconnect. He called at 4 p.m. "Babe, I'm so sorry. Client emergency. I have to work late. Can we reschedule?" "It's Valentine's Day," I said, disappointed. I know. I'll make it up to you. I promise." He came home at midnight smelling like perfume. In my next therapy session, I told Nicole about it. Valentine's Day was a disaster. He canceled our plans. Came home late smelling like perfume. I asked about it and he said he'd hugged a female colleague goodbye. But I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if... "If what?" Nicole prompted. "If he's cheating on me. Do you have any evidence of that?" She asked carefully. "No. Just a feeling. Just this sense that something's wrong." "Feelings are important," Nicole said, "but they're not always accurate, especially when you're dealing with anxiety. It's possible your anxiety is making you interpret innocent situations as suspicious." "You're right," I said, feeling foolish. "I'm probably just being paranoid." "That's understandable given what you're going through," she said. "But try not to make accusations without evidence. That could damage your marriage further." So I didn't accuse him. Didn't follow my instincts. Trusted my therapist's advice instead. Over the next 4 months, I continued therapy. Continued talking about my marriage, my fears, my suspicions. And Nicole continued to be supportive, validating, helpful. Meanwhile, my marriage continued to deteriorate. Julian became more distant, more critical, more absent. We had sex maybe twice in those 4 months. He stopped even pretending to be interested in my day. Stopped asking about my work. Stopped being present in our marriage. "I think we need couples counseling," I told him one night. "We don't need counseling. You need to stop being so paranoid and controlling." "I'm not paranoid. You're gone all the time. You don't touch me. You barely speak to me. What am I supposed to think?" "You're supposed to trust your husband," he yelled. "But you can't do that, can you? Because you're so focused on your career that you don't have time to actually be a wife. That fight ended with him sleeping in the guest room. I told Nicole about it in our next session. Told her every detail. She sympathized, validated my feelings, and asked detailed questions about his schedule, his behavior, his patterns. I thought she was trying to help me understand him better. She was actually creating a detailed map of when and where she could see him without me finding out. The discovery happened on a Tuesday, June 18th. I'll never forget that date. I'd just finished a particularly difficult surgery, a 4-hour procedure on a patient with multiple blockages. I was exhausted, covered in sweat, ready to go home and collapse. I texted Nicole to cancel our 5 p.m. session. Not feeling well. Need to reschedule. She responded immediately. Of course. Take care of yourself. Feel better. See you next week. I decided to go home, take a long bath, maybe order Thai food, and watch mindless TV. I got home around 5:45 p.m. Julian had texted earlier saying he was working late. Trial prep, wouldn't be home until after midnight. So I was expecting an empty house. But Julian's car was in the driveway. My first thought was confusion. Why was he home if he was supposed to be working late? My second thought was concern. Was he sick? Had something happened? I let myself in quietly, not trying to be sneaky, just tired and not thinking about making noise. The downstairs was dark. No lights, no TV, no Julian in the living room or kitchen. Then I heard it. Laughter. From upstairs. Julian's deep laugh, and a woman's lighter laugh I didn't immediately recognize. My heart started racing. My hands started shaking. The panic attack I'd learned to manage in therapy came rushing back full force. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, frozen. Part of me wanted to turn around and leave. Part of me wanted to run upstairs. Part of me wanted to pretend I hadn't heard anything. But I'm Dr. Simone Laurent. I'm not someone who runs from truth. I walked upstairs, slowly, quietly, each step feeling like it took an hour. The laughter was coming from our bedroom. Our bedroom. The door was slightly open. I stood outside that door, my hand on the knob, and took a breath. Then I looked inside. Julian was in our bed. In the bed we'd bought together when we moved into this house. In the bed where we'd made love. Where we'd had lazy Sunday mornings. Where I'd cried into my pillow so many nights wondering what I'd done wrong. He wasn't alone. There was a woman next to him. Not just next to him, cuddled up against him, wearing what looked like my robe, and I recognized her immediately. Nicole, Dr. Nicole Winters, my therapist. She was wearing red lingerie under my robe. Her natural hair was styled perfectly. She was laughing at something Julian had said, touching his chest, looking up at him with adoration. And I heard what they were saying. "You're so brilliant," Nicole was saying. "The way you handled that case? Incredible. You're going to crush this trial. Any firm would be lucky to have you." "Thanks, baby," Julian said. And the way he said baby, the endearment he used to use for me, made me want to vomit. It's nice to have someone who actually appreciates what I do, who understands how hard I work. "I appreciate everything about you," Nicole said. "You're successful, intelligent, sexy, masculine. Any woman would be lucky to have you." "Simone doesn't see me that way anymore," Julian said. "She's so focused on her career, on being this big-shot doctor. She doesn't need me, doesn't make me feel valued. That's because she's too strong," Nicole said. "Too independent. Too much like a man, honestly. She can't help it. That's just who she is. But you deserve someone feminine. Someone who makes you feel like a man. Someone who puts you first. My own words. My own fears. My own insecurities that I'd shared in the sacred space of therapy, coming out of my therapist's mouth as she lay in my bed with my husband wearing my robe. "You make me feel like a man," Julian said. "You need me. You look up to me. You make me feel important." "You are important," Nicole said. "You're the most important person in my world." Then she kissed him. And he kissed her back. And I stood there watching my therapist seduce my husband, using the exact playbook I'd given her in 104 sessions over 2 years. I pushed the door open. They both jumped. Julian went pale. Literally lost all color in his face. Nicole's eyes went wide, and I saw something there. Not fear, not shame. Something else. Excitement, maybe. Like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Simone," Julian stammered, jumping out of bed, grabbing his pants. "Baby, this isn't my therapist," I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm you get in shock. "You're fucking my therapist. The woman I trusted. The woman I told everything to. Simone, let me explain." Nicole started, pulling my robe tighter around her lingerie. "Don't," I said, holding up my hand. "Don't you dare speak to me. You violated every single professional boundary. You used confidential therapeutic information to seduce my husband. You betrayed your oath, your license, your profession, and basic human decency." "It's not like that," Nicole said, and she had the audacity to look defiant. "Julian and I fell in love. Real love. You can't help who you fall in love with." "How long?" I asked. They were silent. "How long?" "6 months," Julian said quietly. 6 months. Half a year. 26 weeks. While I was seeing her every Tuesday, crying about my marriage, she'd been fucking my husband. "How did you meet him?" I asked her. I needed to know. Needed to understand how this happened. Nicole hesitated. "Then, I ran into him at Starbucks near his office. We started talking. He mentioned being married to a cardiologist. I didn't realize it was you at first." "Liar," I said. "You knew exactly who he was. I told you his name. Julian Laurent. Corporate attorney, works downtown, mergers and acquisitions. I described what he looked like. Told you where he worked. You targeted him." "That's not true. Then how did you know which Starbucks? How did you know his schedule? How did you happen to be there at the exact time he'd be there?" She couldn't answer. I turned to Julian. "And you? When did you know she was my therapist?" He looked down. After we slept together. She told me. Said she wanted to be honest. "And you didn't think to stop? Didn't think that sleeping with my therapist was a problem?" "We were already in love by then," he said weakly. "In love," I repeated. "You were in love. After what? A month? 6 weeks? And that justified betraying me with the one person who was supposed to be helping me?" "Simone, get out of my house," I said. "Both of you. Get dressed and get out." "This is my house too," Julian started. "Get out," I screamed. And I'm not a screamer. I'm calm, controlled, professional. But in that moment, 2 years of pain, 2 years of anxiety, 2 years of being gaslit by both my husband and my therapist broke through. Nicole dressed quickly, gathered her things, had the nerve to look at me with pity as she walked past. "Simone, I'm sorry you're hurt, but you have to understand. Julian needs things you can't give him. You're a brilliant doctor, but you're not a good wife. It's not your fault. It's just who you are." I didn't respond. If I'd responded, I might have put my hands on her, and I'm a doctor. First, do no harm. She left. Julian tried to talk to me, tried to apologize, tried to explain. "I need you to leave," I said. "Right now. Go to a hotel. Go to her place. Go wherever you want, but get out of my house." "Can we talk about this?" he asked. "We can talk through lawyers," I said. "Get out." He packed a bag, left, and I collapsed. Sat on the floor of my bedroom, the bedroom where I'd just seen my husband in bed with my therapist, and screamed, cried, shook with rage and grief and betrayal so deep I thought it might kill me. I called Monica. She answered on the first ring. "She fucked him," I said when she picked up. "Nicole fucked Julian. My therapist is sleeping with my husband." Silence. Then, "I'm on my way. Don't move. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Monica lived up to that promise. 15 minutes later, she was at my door. Let herself in with the spare key I'd given her years ago. Found me still sitting on the bedroom floor. She sat down next to me. Held me while I cried. And when I'd cried enough to speak, she said something that changed everything. "Simone, what Nicole did isn't just unethical. It's illegal. It's called therapeutic exploitation. It's a violation of professional ethics so severe she can lose her license permanently. And she will lose her license. I'll make sure of it. I don't care about her license, I said. I care that she used everything I told her against me. That's exactly why she'll lose her license, Monica said. She weaponized patient information. She used therapeutic confidentiality to seduce a patient's spouse. This is grounds for immediate license revocation, possible criminal charges, and civil liability. Simone, you're not just going to divorce Julian, you're going to destroy Nicole's entire career. Over the next few days, still in shock, still processing, I did several things. First, I took a leave of absence from work. 2 weeks. Told my department head I had a family emergency and needed time. He didn't ask questions. Second, I hired the best divorce attorney in Atlanta. Her name was Regina Mitchell, and she had a reputation for being ruthless. I told her everything, showed her my therapy notes. Nicole had given me copies for my records, ironically. Explained the timeline, detailed how Nicole had used my confidential information. This is a strong case, Regina said. We'll file on grounds of adultery. Georgia recognizes that. And the fact that it's your therapist? That's egregious. Judges hate this kind of betrayal. You'll get everything you want. Third, and most importantly, I filed a formal complaint with the Georgia Composite Board of Professional Counselors, Social Workers, and Marriage and Family Therapists. This was the licensing board that regulated therapists like Nicole. Monica helped me write it. We detailed everything. Nicole engaging in a sexual relationship with a patient's spouse. Nicole using confidential therapeutic information to facilitate that relationship. Nicole continuing to treat me while actively having an affair with my husband. Nicole's multiple violations of the American Counseling Association's Code of Ethics. This isn't just one violation, Monica explained. This is multiple severe violations. Dual relationships. Exploitation of confidential information. Lack of professional boundaries. Harm to a patient. Each one of these is enough for license suspension. Altogether, she's done. Fourth, I documented everything. Went through my therapy notes, all 104 sessions. Found every instance where I'd talked about Julian, where I detailed what he needed, what he wanted, what would make him happy, where I'd revealed my insecurities and fears. Then I went through my phone records, found the exact date Nicole and I had session 71. The session where I told her Julian said I was too much like a man. 2 weeks later, Julian's phone showed a call from a number I didn't recognize. I looked it up. Nicole's personal cell phone. I hired a private investigator. He found evidence of Nicole and Julian together at hotels, restaurants, my own house. Photos, receipts, credit card statements. Julian had used our joint credit card to pay for hotels where he'd met Nicole. Proof of financial infidelity on top of everything else. Fifth, I did something more calculated. Something that, looking back, might have been petty but felt necessary. I recorded a conversation with Julian. Georgia is a one-party consent state, meaning I could legally record a conversation I was part of without telling the other person. I called him, said I wanted to talk, try to understand what happened. He agreed, desperate to explain himself. How did you and Nicole start talking? I asked. She approached me, he said, at Starbucks. Said she'd heard about me from a client, which I now realize was a lie. She introduced herself as a therapist who worked with couples. Said maybe we could have coffee, discuss some strategies that might help me support you better during therapy. So she sought you out? Yes. Looking back, I can see she planned it. But at the time, I thought she was just trying to help. And when did you realize she was my therapist? After we crossed the line physically. She told me. Said she wanted to be honest before things went further. But you continued anyway. I was already in love with her by then. She made me feel like a man, Simone. Like I mattered. Like I was important. By telling you everything I said in therapy about you. What? She told you what I said about you, didn't she? About how you needed validation? About how you wanted someone softer? About how you felt I was too independent? Silence. Then, she understood me. She understood what I needed, because I told her what you needed. In therapy. Under confidential protection. And she used it to seduce you. It wasn't like that. That's exactly what it was like, I said. And you were too flattered to see it. You were so desperate to feel important that you didn't care who got hurt. I had that conversation recorded. Had Julian admitting Nicole had sought him out, admitted she was my therapist before they continued the relationship, admitted she'd used information about him that she could only have gotten from my therapy sessions. The licensing board investigation moved fast. Nicole was suspended within 3 weeks, pending a full hearing. Her therapy practice shut down immediately. She had to inform all her clients that she was under investigation and could no longer provide services. Other clients filed complaints too. Turned out I wasn't the only one who felt betrayed. Women started coming forward saying Nicole had crossed boundaries, made inappropriate comments, seemed more interested in their personal lives than their therapeutic progress. The hearing was scheduled for 3 months later. In the meantime, I went through the divorce process, filed on grounds of adultery, presented all my evidence, the affair, the financial infidelity, the recorded conversation. Julian tried to fight it, hired a lawyer who argued that I'd been too focused on my career and had neglected the marriage. Regina destroyed that argument. Dr. Laurent is a respected cardiologist who saves lives for a living. Her husband chose to have an affair with her therapist, a woman who used confidential medical information to seduce him. That's not Dr. Laurent's fault. That's Mr. Laurent's choice, and Dr. Winters' professional misconduct. The judge agreed. Awarded me the house, 70% of marital assets, 5 years of alimony, and a public statement that Julian's adultery with my therapist was unconscionable. 3 months after I'd filed the licensing complaint, the hearing happened. I testified. So did Monica as an expert witness on therapeutic ethics. So did 3 other former clients of Nicole who'd felt she'd crossed boundaries. Nicole tried to defend herself, brought her own lawyer, argued that she and Julian had fallen in love organically, and that she'd never used my therapeutic information. But I had evidence. I had my therapy notes showing I detailed everything about Julian. I had phone records showing when Nicole first contacted Julian, 2 weeks after I'd told her about his complaints about me being too masculine. I had the recorded conversation where Julian admitted she'd sought him out, claimed to have heard about him, said she wanted to help him support me better. Dr. Winters, the board chair said, did you or did you not use information obtained during therapy sessions with Dr. Laurent to facilitate a relationship with her husband? I didn't use confidential information, Nicole said. I got to know Julian independently, but you knew his name, his occupation, his personality traits, his marital complaints, his specific needs and desires, all before you approached him. Dr. Laurent had told me those things, yes, but I didn't use them. Then, how did you know exactly what to say to attract him? How did you know to position yourself as softer, more supportive, more feminine? How did you know to validate his career, his masculinity, his importance? These are all things Dr. Laurent told you in therapy that she felt insecure about not providing. Nicole couldn't answer. After 3 hours of testimony and evidence presentation, the board deliberated for 30 minutes. Their decision: immediate and permanent revocation of Dr. Nicole Winters' license to practice counseling in the state of Georgia. Additional referral to other state licensing boards for reciprocal revocation. Formal censure published in professional journals. Required notification to all past clients of the revocation and its cause. Nicole appealed. Lost. Tried to practice as an unlicensed life coach. No one would hire her once they learned why she'd lost her license. But I didn't stop there. I wrote a detailed case study of what happened. Identifying details changed, but the facts intact. I submitted it to professional journals as an ethical case example. 3 journals published it: the Journal of Counseling Ethics, Professional Psychology, Research and Practice, and Ethics and Behavior. When therapists become predators, therapeutic exploitation through confidential information and dual relationships. It became required reading in several graduate counseling programs. It's cited in ethics textbooks. Nicole Winters became a cautionary tale. The therapist who seduced her patient's husband using therapy notes. I also gave interviews. First anonymously, then openly. spoke at professional conferences about recognizing therapist misconduct, spoke at medical schools about the importance of ethical patient care, wrote op-eds about how therapists can abuse their power. Nicole's reputation in mental health? Destroyed. Completely, thoroughly destroyed. She can never work in mental health again. Can't practice therapy, can't teach, can't write about it without someone pointing out what she did. Last I heard, she moved to Florida, works at a department store. Her life as a therapist? Over. Julian? We were officially divorced 8 months after I caught them. He tried to continue the relationship with Nicole, but once she lost her license, lost her income, lost her professional identity, he lost interest. She's not the same, he told me during one of our final settlement meetings. Like that was supposed to matter to me, like I was supposed to care. They broke up 6 months after my divorce was finalized. He's dated a few women since then, but word got around about what he did, about how he'd cheated on his cardiologist wife with her therapist. Atlanta's professional Black community is tight-knit. People talk. His reputation suffered. His clients questioned his integrity. If he'd cheat on his wife, could they trust him with their business? He didn't make partner at his firm. Last I heard, he'd moved to a smaller firm, taken a pay cut, was struggling to rebuild his career. That was 3 years ago. I'm 41 now. Still a cardiologist at Emory. Still saving lives. Still one of the few Black women in my field. Still excellent at what I do. I found a new therapist, Dr. Patricia Williams, a 60-year-old Black woman with 30 years of experience, impeccable ethics, and a reputation for being impossible to manipulate. Worked through the trauma of what Nicole did. Learned to trust again. Learned that what happened wasn't my fault. I'm dating someone new. His name is Marcus. He's a history professor at Morehouse, and he's brilliant, kind, ethical. He respects my career, understands my hours, thinks it's sexy that I save lives. We're taking it slow, but it's good. Healthy. Based on honesty and respect. People ask me sometimes if I'm glad I reported Nicole. If I think destroying her career was too harsh. If maybe I was just angry and vindictive. Here's what I tell them. Nicole chose to become a therapist. Chose to take an oath to do no harm. Chose to position herself as someone who heals vulnerable people. And then she chose to use that position, that trust, that vulnerability to seduce my husband and destroy my marriage. She weaponized my pain, used my secrets against me, violated every ethical boundary that exists to protect patients from exactly this kind of exploitation. I didn't destroy her career. She destroyed her career. I just made sure there were consequences. The medical field has a principle. First, do no harm. The mental health field has the same principle. Nicole violated it in the worst possible way. She harmed someone who came to her for healing, used their vulnerability against them, betrayed sacred trust, and she paid the price. My name is Dr. Simone Laurent, Spelman graduate, Emory Medical School, board-certified interventional cardiologist, a Black woman who's had to fight for everything she has, who's had to be 4 times as good to get half as much. My husband's mistress was my therapist. She knew everything about me, every fear, every insecurity, every vulnerability, and she used all of it to seduce my husband and destroy my marriage. But I'm a doctor. I know how to diagnose disease, how to cut with precision, how to remove what's infected, how to save what matters. I couldn't save my marriage, but I saved myself. I saved future patients from Nicole's predatory behavior. I saved the integrity of the therapeutic profession by exposing someone who corrupted it. Nicole thought she was smart, thought she could use her training and my vulnerability to get what she wanted, thought she could destroy me and build her happiness on my pain. She forgot something important. I'm Dr. Simone Laurent. I perform surgery on people's hearts. I make life or death decisions. I save lives when everyone else has given up. And I don't let anyone, therapist, husband, or anyone else, destroy me without consequences. 3 years later, I'm thriving. She's working retail in Florida. Julian is struggling to rebuild his reputation. And me, I'm still here. Still strong. Still saving lives. still proving that you can survive betrayal and come out stronger. That's not revenge. That's accountability. And accountability? That's the best medicine of all. If this story made you furious and then satisfied, please subscribe for more stories about Black women who hold people accountable. Hit like. If you believe professional ethics matter, comment. Have you ever had a therapist, doctor, or professional violate your trust? How did you handle it? Your story matters. And remember, your vulnerability is not weakness, but anyone who weaponizes it deserves every consequence that comes their way. See you in the next story.